All right. Are we streaming? 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 It's been a minute. Here, making sure that everything's looking good. If you're here, yeah, here we go. If you're here, welcome to the Canadian Commie. Oddity, how are you doing? I have not been streaming for the last couple of weeks due to just needing to take a step away. Did some camping, did some beekeeping. Um, Long defined, good to see you, Oddity. Good to see you guys. Free Palestine, you bet. I guess the personal update. I'll start with that. This month has been bad for me. It's been a very bad month. It's been just full of depression and sadness, and basically every part of my life has gotten harder. My job has gotten harder. Everything's gotten more difficult. Um, on the positive, on the positive flip side, it feels like it's one of those like dip downs into darkness to pull back up. That there are positive things that are definitely happening. Um, one of the most one of the most positive things I think that's happening is I got a job reading books to the elderly. Who knew that that was going to come down the pipe? But I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Um, Content, good to see you. Progressive liberals or neocons? I said what I said. Yeah, like at this point, it's just like the carny liberals are. Joe, good to see you. The carny liberals are basically running an austerity budget because everybody knows the best way to grow an economy is to stifle an economy, right? That's definitely how you want to grow an economy is by killing an economy. That makes all the sense in the world. Um, so that's the thing that makes everything I think a lot more difficult. Like I mean, we're starting to get headlines like this, guys. Like we're starting to get headlines like Gen Z are dipping into their retirement, skipping meals, and selling belongings just to get by. Like this is a society that is abandoning itself. There's no there's no there's no other way really to describe it. Like this is a society that is abandoning itself, and in fundamental ways, in like really basic, really low level, like kindergarten school ways. We are just deciding to make it so that people cannot get access to basic resources. And the rationale behind why we're doing that is I don't even know what it is anymore. Like I genuinely don't even understand why we're making the decision as a people to abandon ourselves so thoroughly and with such glee. Like we're gleefully doing it. It's like we're happy to throw ourselves off the top of a building. It's crazy. Yeah. Hall, good to see you. To continue the personal update, uh, I have been going on some dates. Just went on a date yesterday, actually, that went pretty decently. Um, really lovely, really lovely woman, in fact, actually. And I'm hoping to see again, which is a change from the everyday, right? Like, everybody seems really caught up in this system of capital and is really defining themselves as like a productive worker, basically. And yeah, it's getting worse out there, and people are hurting out there. I think that's right, Joe. Like, it's just people are really hurting and are really defining themselves by how much they are hurt. We've got a first time chatter over on the Twitch. Elaney, communism is not really a system. Communism is the doctrine of the liberation of the proletariat, which is to say, it is the method by which the working class um, works to liberate itself from the system of capital. That's what communism is. that was defined by Frederick Engels in The Principles of Communism, and that's what I use when I talk about communism. So to say communism is not really a system is in fact accurate, because communism is the method that we, or the study rather, of how we liberate ourselves from the system of capital and what systems should be built. And there's a lot of debate about what systems should be built in order to make that transition. Right now, there's a lot of eyes that are focused on China, because China has been doing a lot of big moves and has been positioning itself pretty significantly. Xi Jinping very recently, like literally within the last couple of days, just gave a speech where he said we should uphold the principles of Marxist-Leninism. It's pretty major, if you ask me. Eleni says, I'm so glad you are here. I have met you before, by the way. Oh, have you? Oh, well, that's nice. Where have we met, Eleni? Glad you're here. Yeah, I mean, just to wrap up my own personal update, like I feel like I've been having like a uh, like a spiritual renaissance in my own consciousness, and a just like I don't know how to describe it. It's just like I've been spending a lot of time by myself, and spending a lot of time meditating, and spending a lot of time trying to figure out what's going on in my own self, because I feel like that's what we're being asked to do at this stage in the game. Like, it's so very clear that the society is abandoning itself. It's so very clear that um, we're not really coming together as communities. We're not really coming together as a people. Um, that the power structures are not really being threatened. Uh, there's lots of protest and there's lots of movement, but then there's lots of ICE agents and there's lots of actual literal violence being done. And the result, I think, is just a society that is in this major decline that we don't seem interested to recover from. Oh yeah, Inverted Mystic. I remember you. Yeah, you've been looking for news sources lately. There's this Israeli journalist, I think, has interesting points. I mean, I'd be very surprised. Um, the ongoing genocide that's happening. I mean, this is one of these things that I kind of like focus on, right? Like, we're a society that's committing a pretty open genocide. Um, Here in Canada, we're doing everything we can to sort of like pretend like we're not aiding and abetting, while actually aiding and abetting in pretty significant ways, sending arms to Israel. And it just looks like nothing's really moving, right? It just looks like nothing's really moving. And it's hard to live in a society like this. That's really the truth, you know? That's really the truth. It's hard to get up every day and want to participate in a society that's really uh, that's really that's really deciding this. You know, when we look at who is the resistance, right? Who are the people? Like Gavin Newsom is supposed to be our resistance. Gavin Newsom is supposed to be the guy, and it's like you look at his policies and you look at everything he's ever done. It's like, oh, you're not that much different than a conservative or a Republican. And it kind of gets to a point where I'm like, what more can I say? You know, what more can I what can I do? Where can I put my energy? How can I help people who are fighting the good fight? How can I support people anymore? Like, there are people who are fighting the good fight who I care about and who I root for and who I hope are doing well. And I can't do anything. Like, this is what I can do. And I feel I feel genuinely helpless and genuinely like I'm trying not to be hopeless, of course. You always want to hold on to hope, and you always want to hold on to the belief that it's going to get better and that there is going to be a turning point and that things are going to improve, that something's going to give and something's going to break and something's finally going to start working in the direction of the people who actually live and work in these places. But how bleak does it need to get? How dark does it need to get? How tough does it need to get for everyone before we start to actually say out loud, hey, maybe the point of life isn't to grind each other down like this. Maybe things should be easier than this. Maybe life should be simpler. Maybe things should be easy. You know? And I'm always struck, like, food and shelter could be completely available. It could be completely available to everyone. It would be very easy to do. It would actually be a very straightforward thing to accomplish. And we don't. We just don't. And it's been very hard for me not to fall into this kind of sense of depression, you know, into this sense of just like, just sitting and just staring off into nothingness, just being like, oh, like this is what it's going to be. This is what it's going to be. That for all my protestations, for all my desires that it not be so, for everything, for all my prayers, for everything focused in that direction, it's going to be this way. We currently have a government here in Canada that's committing to like a 15% across the board cut, and who says the most ridiculous bullshit you've ever heard in your life, which is, yeah, Carney says to expect both an austerity and investment focused budget. So we're going to cut and spend. So it's just like, it's just cartoonish at this point. And I don't know why other people don't seem to grab onto this and grab onto the reality that, like, this is going to have profound effects. Like, we're going to create a culture of massive struggle. So 60% of the society is already living paycheck to paycheck, with most people saying that that's become the norm. And it's like, why are we doing that? Why are we doing this? Like, Hull writes, without money, who would listen? Who would listen or be inspired enough to mobilize? Yeah, money. The thing that we invented, that we print out of thin air, that we've elevated to the status of a god. Like, it's shocking. It's shocking to see. And Joe writes, I can relate. I get it out through music and writing like you, and exercise. Yeah, and it's just, it feels like it's not enough anymore, Joe. Like, for me, it feels like it's not enough anymore. Like, I try to get to open mic nights, and I try to get out into nature, and I try to, you know, experience things and go on dates and, you know, get to know people and find connections and all of these different things. And it just doesn't feel like enough anymore. You know, like, what is it actually going to take? Like, why is it that we're constantly in this state of treading water, and we're just treading water and treading water and treading water? And like, it feels this last month for me has felt like I've had to work overtime in order to just maintain my position. Like, I've had to like work double hard in order to just stay where I am, and to just try to keep plugging away at what I'm plugging away. And it's like primarily annoying, frankly. Like that's the primary emotion that I feel about the whole thing. It's just a deep sense of annoyance. Austin Wallace, good to see you. Organize with Comrades has really helped me reach out to local mutual aid, the Communist Party of Canada. They'll likely bring you in on some beginner sessions of Marxism just to feel you out. I've sent messages rather to the Communist Party of Canada. I get nothing back. I haven't heard word one from those guys. So I don't know what's going on with them. I've sent messages to them before though, and just been like, Baldy, good to see you. Eleni says, the article name gives me hope for how fascist people say the United States is. Yeah, like the Republican Party is a fascist party. And people abroad call it a fascist party, as they should. So the big news internationally is this. Yeah. From the South China Morning Post, Western leaders parse China military parade displaying national pride. So China held a military parade fairly recently where Xi Jinping, Putin, Kim from North Korea, Modi were all there. It was a big show of military force. And Donald Trump said of it, I thought it was very, very impressive, but I understood the reason they were doing it. And I was watching, he added. Yeah, Xi is aura farming. Yeah, sure. I think that China really understands what's going on. China really sees what's going on. That the time for American dominance is ending, and America is kind of falling into a tailspin and pulling the rest of the West down with it. And it seems kind of hitherto unstoppable because no one seems to care to stop it. Like everyone is essentially just jockeying for position at this point. Like what Mark Carney is doing here in Canada is just very obviously trying to harvest Canada on behalf of the corporate overlords that he works for, right? Like the wealthy oligarchs that Carney works for don't want to fund a civil society anymore. They're not interested in funding a civil society anymore. And so his job is to accelerate the steady decline. Play Safe says America is tail spinning so it can transition into a Chinese model. That's an interesting analysis. I don't see any evidence for that. The Chinese model was erected after like 20 years of civil war, right? Like Mao Zedong as well as the KMT fighting literal like imperialists and the Japanese imperialists and World War II and all of this. And the model that the Chinese currently have comes first after the erection of the National People's Congress in 1949, after the Civil War and the establishment of the People's Republic of China, but also through the Dengist period, right? The opening up of the Chinese economy. So to say that America is tail spinning so it can transition to a Chinese model, big question marks on that. I think that the model, that what we're actually going to end up with here in America, in North America rather, it's going to be feudalism. It's just going to be basic feudalism that like people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates will not be much different than the kings of yore. And that people like Donald Trump and like Mark Carney will essentially be courtiers, right? They'll just be there to sort of establish, like, the Congress and the Senate and the presidency or the parliament, right, will essentially exist as a way for oligarchs to negotiate with each other. Like that's really what it's going to be like. That you won't have any representation whatsoever. That you will be a piece of cattle, right? And that's essentially how it is already. That you are cattle, and the considerations that the ruling class have for you are essentially the same considerations that a farmer would have for a cow. How are you useful to them? And if you're not useful, then how do we make sure that you're not causing problems for us? Chill and Jazz, first time commenter. Yeah, world is an interesting yet savage place. The I mean, I know it might be a blow to your ego, plays safe, but as far as the ruling class is concerned, you're a cow. Like that's really what it is. Like what labor can we get out of you? What can we make you do for us? And if the answer is nothing, then how do we turn you into Soylent Green? Like how do we turn you into food? And like make no mistake, the people who are running this place are psychopaths. Like they've lost the thread of humanity if they ever had it. They're not interested in helping anybody. They're not interested, certainly not helping you. And really the way that the system is going to look moving forward is essentially going to be a Congress and a Senate and a system, a Supreme Court that essentially exists to help Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates negotiate the spoils of American warfare, right? And how to carve up America for their benefit. And that's really what the purpose of your ruling structure is going to be. That and that stands in pretty sharp difference to what's going on in China. That in China, they actually have a system that actually does respond to the needs of their people. Like that's the major difference. That the National People's Congress is a system of meritocracy in which people are actually rewarded for improving the quality of life over the people that they rule over. Like that's actually the truth. And no one is more emblematic of that than Xi Jinping. That Xi Jinping's entire political career has been one of starting at the bottom of the National People's Congress. Because the way it works is that every 10 years, I believe it is, there's an election and people are elected into the National People's Congress. But it's not like the American system where you win one election and suddenly you're the president, right? Or you win one election and you're the governor. That the way it works is that you win your election and that gets you in the door of the building. And the moment you're in the door of the building, they say, okay, welcome. Now begins the process of vetting you to see if you're competent, right? And so they'll take you and they'll put you in a village, right? Like literally like 600 people and be like, okay, you're in the village. And then if you do well, and everybody's like, yeah, we like this guy. He did a good job. These are the things that he did that were of value to us. Then the National People's Congress goes, oh, okay, so you showed competence. So let's get you from a village to a town, then a town to a city, then a principality, right? Then a province. Let's maybe make you a minister of some cabinet, right? Like, and you grow through the ranks of the National People's Congress. That's Xi Jinping's entire career. Delaney says communism is a model that you use to dismantle a system of speculative, unrealized assets. Like it dismantles things like the stock market for real, tangible industry. Well, one of the core premises of the communist movement is that things can change, that we seek to change reality. And if you are sitting on a bunch of, like, if you have a system that's not working for the benefit of anyone except, a few hundred billionaires, and like things are getting wacky, guys. Like things are getting genuinely wacky where, like, where's the number? Yeah, here we go. America's billionaires are worth 5.7 trillion, right? But they've only pledged or donated 185 billion of that in the last decade. Like, who cares how much they've pledged to donate? The America's billionaires are worth 5.7 trillion. Gee, I wonder what's happening to the society. Long Defiant writes, have you looked at the revolts in the Philippines? I have not. That seems to be an ongoing affair, what's going on in the Philippines. Apparently they're using the One Piece flag as a rallying symbol, but that's all I know. That's fun. Omnicidal writes, that's based on the premise you believe in Kantian ethics and altruism. I don't really know what that's in reference to, Omnicidal. Good to see you, though. Yeah, here in Canada, we're giving $2 billion to Ukraine. Joe writes, I reiterate that to anyone I speak to on it. We're dealing with psychopaths. That is not hyperbole. Yeah, like, it's gotten pretty clear and pretty obvious that, and to me, the biggest reason why it's so obvious that these people are psychopathic is that the solutions to genuine problems are actually very simple. Like, they are very simple. But at the bottom of every single flow chart is the reality that, oh, some billionaire is going to have to earn slightly less money. Like, that's really the solution to most problems, is that, okay, you want housing to be affordable. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, that means that you're going to have to actually do some restrictions, and you're actually going to have to say to corporate enterprise, hey, you don't get to hoard all of this housing and just sit on it empty, right? Which is what they're doing. That nobody ever talks about it. Everything is about immigration. It's always immigration, immigration, immigration. That's always the problem. Nobody actually points out that, like, Blackstone, BlackRock, Vanguard, these guys are hoarding like thousands and thousands of properties and just sitting on them, creating a fake market. And we could just stand up and say, can't do that, right? Can't do that. And yeah, and then you get statements like what PlaySafe has said here: housing being affordable lowers GDP. Who cares about GDP? I can't possibly begin to imagine why anyone would give a fuck about GDP. Like gross domestic product, right? Like what's amazing about this is that the guy that invented GDP, I forget his name offhand, but the fellow that invented the concept of GDP literally said, do not use GDP this way. Do not talk about GDP this way. Like, GDP has nothing to do with what's going on domestically. It has everything to do with just like foreign exports. And so or what's being produced. And then even then there's like big debates about, well, what should be considered like productive, right? Is it productive for two billionaires to trade a house back and forth 3,000 times? That increases GDP, right? If Jeff Bezos buys a $1 million mansion and then sells it to Mark Zuckerberg for $1.1 million, and Mark Zuckerberg sells it back to Jeff Bezos for 1.2, and they keep selling it back and forth over and over and over again, and they do that 10,000 times, then GDP is increased by like $100 billion. Was that productive? Was that valuable? Did anyone improve anything? Was there anything good that happened? No. So it's just pointless. Eleni writes, you don't have enough money to leave your future in the stock market. Like, say you can buy a share for $5 a share if you have 500, compared to this billionaire who's going to have like $1 million to invest. Yeah. Who do you think walks away with profit? Exactly. And PlaySafe just says tax revenue. Okay. Would you like to clarify that point? Because let's be clear, these guys don't pay taxes. Like they don't pay taxes. So if your rebuttal is tax revenue, then yikes. Because like Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, these guys, they don't pay taxes. Joe writes, yeah, at this point they are financially raping the world. Yeah, nothing new. Like it's the same old, right? Colonization, colonialism. It's just now the colonialism is going to happen to us, right? Now the colonization is going to turn inward, and that's going to be the big change moving forward. That for centuries it's been colonizing the global south, right? It's been colonizing Africa, it's been colonizing China, it's been colonizing India, it's been colonizing Latin America. And now that's no longer tenable. It's no longer possible to do that because the global south is starting to rally and is starting to actually create a big enough front to be able to defend itself from the psychopathic death cult that rules us. And so now the strategy, and it's been openly stated, the Secretary of Treasury openly stated it, that the goal for America moving forward is to use Europe, Canada, and Mexico as kind of a harvesting ground to suck in wealth into America and to rebuild its own manufacturing base. Because America has finally gotten to a point, where they've realized that not having your own internal oh, excuse me one second, guys. Oh, come on. Oh. There it is. Sorry, guys. Not actually controlling the means of your own production, like not having any control over your own manufacturing base, is a disaster. It's just a fundamental disaster. And so America is in this position where it finally has begun to acknowledge, okay, we actually do have to control our own productive capacity. We actually have to control our own manufacturing. But the genie's out of the bottle, right? Like, who's going to bring their manufacturing back to America? And it is getting to the point now that if America wants to actually rebuild its manufacturing base, it's going to have to do so through legislative fiat, basically. It's going to have to say, okay, we're passing this legislation to build these factories here. And it's not going to be privately done. It's going to be done by the government, basically, which is as anti-American as it gets these days. Omnicidal writes, easiest thing to do is deregulate zoning restrictions and make incentives for high density housing. That narrative, Omnicidal, like I don't necessarily disagree if you are in the mindset that the solution to the problem is to just build, like to try to just build your way out of the problem. But there is like the genuine, real, very like serious issue of just properties sitting empty being hoarded. Like that's a real thing that exists that nobody discusses. And for some reason it's become like a real blind spot for people. Like even as I'm talking about it now, like it's like I can say this in a room full of people, and then all of a sudden people are like, well, what we really need to do is build more supply. It's like, okay, so we're just not going to discuss. It's just not. It's like there's a trigger in someone's brain. It's like there's some kind of barrier going on where a person just hears factual information. Gigantic, massive corporations are hoarding thousands of properties and sitting on them empty in order to increase housing prices and then also rent those properties back to us. Like, that's just true. And then I say that, and it's like all brains turn off, inability to process information. What we really need to do is increase housing supply. Okay. I don't really know how to carry on the conversation anymore. Like, I don't know how to carry on the conversation anymore. Like, it just genuinely feels like there are so many, and it's I think it's getting worse. There's just so many, like, if I found out that Westerners, like smartphones, have basically like created a series of mental blocks inside of the Western mind. If I found that out, like in a big conspiratorial way, the CIA has successfully implemented technology to make sure that everybody is just incapable of processing these types of information. I just wouldn't be surprised by it at all. I'd be like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense because that just aligns completely with my experience with this stuff. That just huge segments of the population just seem completely incapable of understanding that there are huge multinational, like $1 trillion hedge fund organizations that own like billions of dollars of property assets and sit on them empty on purpose in order to raise prices. It just nothing. I just don't know how to continue with the conversation. Eleni writes exactly. If you invest in real industry over speculative markets, it actually increases the value of your market. Yeah, but they don't care about that anymore. Like we're living in an oligarchy. We're living in a feudal oligarchy, right? Like they're not actually interested in increasing the value of the market. Like they want money for themselves, and that's it. It's closer to a religion now. Long Defiant writes, even if they crush the working class to poverty levels, it'll be 20 years before the manufacturing catches up in the US. Yeah, like, I just don't think people fully understand exactly what's going to happen, right? Like, China is just going to leap so far ahead so fast. It's going to be blistering to watch while the United States is still in this regressive pattern. Like, and it is probably the first time, like, the thing that makes this moment kind of special and the thing that kind of gives me a little bit of hope, I should say, is that it is the first time that there is like a power that has come up that has developed its own economy and has structured itself in such a way where the United States can't just bomb the shit out of it. Like, China is finally getting to a point where it's like, oh yeah, like you're not going to be able to come over here. Like that's just not going to happen. And it's like that's interesting because what it does mean is like by the end of my life, when I turn 80, like this place will have continued its regression downward. Everything will be worse. That's what makes this tough, right? That's what makes this tough. And I think that's why I've been so sad over this last month. It's just the realization. It's settling into my bones now. It's settling into my lived reality that my society is just going to continue getting worse. Like it's not going to improve. And it seems like that's what people want. Like that's the part about it I think that's so shocking is that it seems like people want the society to get worse. They don't want to see improvements. That they're only willing to discuss improvements within such a narrow bandwidth that the improvements are not really improvements anymore. They're just these sort of lateral moves. And nobody takes seriously at all that you have a king. Like the guys that are in front of you right now might as well be kings. Like I don't know how we are so disconnected from the reality of what's going on in front of us. But we are. We just are. And it breaks my heart because I see how it's hurting people. I see how it's damaging the relations that we could have with one another. It's making communities almost impossible to build. And everybody is just frantically running around attempting to find a modicum of stability. And the stability that they can find, they're so protective of that no one else is permitted in. So it's impossible. Like how do you have like a normal life? How do you have like just a normal existence in this? And I just don't see it. And it blows, because it would be nice to just be able to chill out with people and have conversation with people, play, have some fun, enjoy each other's company. But that's just not happening. And everyone is in a panic. Everyone is in this fight or flight. And some people are fighting and God bless them, and some people are running and God bless them. But like, and trying to get out of the fight or flight, trying to get into a position where you're actually stable and you're calm and you're at this kind of peaceful point. What makes me so sad is that I feel like I had that for a minute. I feel like I had that for just a minute, where I felt like I was stable and I felt like I was at peace with my place, and everything was calm. And now it's all destabilized. Everything's just destabilized and I can't find my feet again. And I'm hoping I can find my feet, right? I give it over to the universe to be like, hey, help me out here. Help me find my feet again. Help me get into that position where I can actually like keep moving forward and be okay. But you know, I'm a human, I have doubt. And so it's tough. Joe writes, the egos on these clowns, how the hell do they sleep at night? Do they really believe they made the world a better place? Yeah, they don't care. Like, I think that's, like, Joe, that's the big thing for people to recognize and realize. Like, you don't get into these positions by having empathy, right? The, you don't get into these roles by having the capacity to give a shit about what other people think. Like there's this phenomenon that I've been noticing, that I've been seeing happen, where people are saying like, oh, the more you experience and the higher up the chain you get, the less empathy you have, because you've like been through stuff. And these people actually think they're losing empathy as they're going up, when it's like, no, the system vets for people who don't have empathy in the first place. You didn't lose your empathy, you just never had it. And so the people who are ascending are the people who are willing to do what it requires, i.e., betray everyone around them and use people as objects, right? And I'm really experiencing that right now. The company that I was part of, it was like this family-run place, and it got taken over by just like a mid-level corporation. And like the people who are operating in this mid-level corporation, they want to believe they're good people, and they're not. Like, that's just the thing. Like, these people want to believe they're good people, but they're not. And how do we know they're not? Because they're in these positions that a good person can't be in. You have to not have empathy. Like, you want to be Elon Musk, you have no empathy. You want to be Mark Zuckerberg, you have no empathy. You want to be Jeff Bezos, you have no empathy to begin with. You start that way. If you had empathy, you wouldn't do it. And so, how do they sleep at night? They sleep very well, because they don't have the capacity to have emotions for other people. They look at their bank account, they say, I'm doing well, and they go to sleep. They're psychopaths. Long Defiant writes, it costs $18,000 US per child in my school district. If we can't make that money in taxes, mass housing would hurt the community. My neighbors fight affordable housing harder than the recent plague. Oh yeah, the money, right? It's always the imaginary fictional money that we printed out of nothing. That's always the problem, right? Yeah, we can't build the building, we don't have enough inches. Like, another thing that's just like crazed, like just a crazed aspect of reality, that like we invented this thing called money for all of us to scrabble and scrape and fight over. And it seems to be the number one thing that limits every decision that we make. And it's fictional. We invented it. It's a god, basically. The god of money says your children must live in poverty. This is the sacrifice that the god of money says, so that America's billionaires can have $5.7 trillion. Like, it's grotesque. And I just don't even know what to say about it anymore. Like, we are watching a religious cult, and the religious cult is just dismantling the society. And we're all, I don't know, happy about it. We're unwilling to point at it and be like, hey, maybe money shouldn't be a thing. Like, maybe this shouldn't be the central core thing that we decide things over. Maybe we should just do things because we want to do it. And if we're printing money out of nothing, and if we're inventing money, like if we're just creating it out of thin air, then why do we use it? Like, it's such a staggering position we find ourselves in. Long Defiant says, we have enough land to put up 1,000 or more 2-bedroom apartments. We won't do it. Mansions and luxury units are the only approved projects. I'm becoming less and less favorable to public education. Definitely a mixed bag. No, public education's a good idea. You just need to actually have a public education, right? Like, America doesn't really have a public education system. They've got an indoctrination system. And this indoctrination system is working for the intention of what the death cult wants it to work for. Yeah, there can be high quality public education. It won't be allowed to happen in capitalism. Well, because like the first thing that you should teach anybody is like what your system looks like. Like, what is money? Right? Did anybody actually get taught what money was? Has anybody ever been sat down and been like, this is what money is? There's a reason for that. They don't want to teach you what money is, because then you would conclude, as I have concluded, that, oh, if we can just print money and money is just like not really a thing and we can just put it wherever we need to put it, then let's just put it in those places. Generation Y Me, good to see you. Yeah. Sad emojis, sad emojis. I feel that way too. Joe writes, we need to start discussing actual ways to change this. Yeah, this calls for drastic measures. The monetary system is a good place to start. To me, I think the biggest thing is going to be like, what's going to come out of China? What's going to come out of the BRICS organizations? Like, people are going to see it. Like, they're not going to ignore it. Like, it's going to become so obvious that what we're doing is wrong. Like, it's just going to be naked in like a 1 + 1 = 2 kind of way. People are literally going to just look at China and go, we don't have any of that. We don't have any of this. Like, literally nothing like it. And we're going to be so mired and so ass backwards and so just in our own assholes about all of this stuff that eventually and like, the unemployment rates are going to skyrocket. Like, people are not going to have jobs. Like we are in a Great Depression moment. The streets are just going to be filled with people. Like, people are not going to have there's going to be millions of people without homes beside empty houses owned by BlackRock. Like, that's what it's going to look like. And in the meantime, we're going to be getting images coming out of China and Russia and India of like these highly advanced high-tech societies that are like eradicating poverty and actually like building something for the future. Like, that's the big thing. Like we're not building anything for the future. There's literally nothing for the future for us. We're just harvesting and harvesting and harvesting and pooling it under like 20 people. And it's insane. It is insane. This is why I've just come to call it a religious ideology. That this is no longer, like, we are not rational what we're doing. This is not rational what's happening. that this is absolutely a religious ideology, and what we are looking at isn't intelligent people thoughtfully making decisions to try to help anybody. What we're looking at is worship. We're looking at like an orgiastic, hedonistic worship where whoever has the highest number in the stock market or in their bank account is somehow the victor. And it's like, you think about somebody like Donald Trump. Like, just think about everything we know about Donald Trump and the type of person Donald Trump is, right? Like, that's who these people are. That's who these people are. And they're all like this. Like, even the nice ones. JT says, yeah, turns out the boomers listening to Money by Pink Floyd didn't actually listen. Yeah, who's surprised by that? Like, one of the things that is going to happen within our lifetimes that's going to be a monumental shift is that the boomers are going to die. Like, they're going to die. And by every metric and by every single assessment that we have, when the boomers die, it's going to completely alter the fabric of the society. There's just huge sections of the populace that believe in the opposite of reality, and they're just going to die. And their stupid, dumb worldview is going to die off with them. And so that by itself is just going to be a monumental shift in what actually happens in our societies. Joe writes, our technological potential makes money obsolete. Well, I mean, money is only useful as a measurement tool. That's the only thing it's actually useful for. Like, the average citizen shouldn't even really be dealing with money. Glazy over on Twitch asks, why do I like Stalin? I don't know that you're actually worth talking to, Glazy, because I don't think you actually know anything about the subject, given your commentary here. So I'm just going to let the chat deal with you. Yeah, citation needed. Thank you. I mean, defeating the Nazis and becoming, like, turning an agricultural society into a spacefaring people is pretty laudable. And I'll just give the warning straight away. If you start using Nazi propaganda in the chat, which I assume you're about to, I'll just ban you, okay? So no Nazi propaganda in the chat. Generation Y me writes, hopefully, but to be honest, millennials and Gen X are pretty stupid too. I bet we're older. We'll still have a decent number of boomer-esque people. Yeah, but like, it's the difference between like 60% or 30%, right? Like, that's the difference between like a majority of people and a minority of people. Like, the easiest one is the Israel-Palestine conversation, right? The only people who are still on this idea that Israel has the right to exist and should be able to defend itself and all this kind of stuff are boomers, right? So the boomers die, and suddenly the minority view is that Israel is a valid country that should have the right to defend itself. Yeah, but my family fled. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. This, I wish that we could actually have like serious conversations about like world leaders in history. Like, the successful propaganda campaign against the USSR and Stalin, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild to see. Yeah, they took our slaves. Before Mao showed up, I had a successful monopoly on eggs. I was charging 5 times the cost of eggs as normally, and then Mao took it all away. Mao is a bad man. Yeah, JT writes, boomers had zero connection to struggle, even by nature of circumstance. Gen X and increasingly fewer generations have a connection to their own struggle and access to history. Long Defiance says, John starts talking about Israel and it summons a commercial. That's hilarious. JT writes, I used to say the generational shift will be huge, but I know to temper my expectations. It won't change instantly, I suppose. Ooh, Glazy with a Wikipedia article. Ooh, yeah. My favorite is that if you actually go to these Wikipedia articles and you actually look at the sources, it's basically like CIA.gov. It's my favorite. Like, very convincing. Actually, my Gen X liberal lawyer cousin is still rationalizes on behalf of Israel. It's mind numbing. She's a good person, but has a huge blind spot. Yeah, she's not a good person. Like, sorry. If you're still rationalizing on behalf of a genocidal, like, Nazi state, then you're not a good person. Like, full stop. You might be able to cosplay as one, right? You might be able to have a mask where you project that image into the world, but you're not. I'm just gonna call it. You can go ahead and clip this and send it to your cousin if you like. If you're still justifying uh, a genocide that's like right in front of your face, where literally every single member of the party that's committing the genocide is openly, vocally, full-throatedly talking about doing the genocide and how important it is for them to do the genocide, then yeah, you're just not a good person. You're not welcome to sit at my table. Yeah, Generation Y me, thank you for the $5 donation. Yeah, hot take: genocide is never okay. Yeah, who knew? Long Defiance says older people have different interests. Young want change. Midlife want consensus. Older want security. I don't know, dude. Like, at this point, you know what I would really like? You know what I'd really like, Long Defiant? Is I just like to sit on a bench and hold someone's hand and stare at the sunset. That's what I'd like. Seems like it's like the hardest thing to get. One of the most difficult things to get in reality seems to be just holding someone's hand, telling them that you love them, having a moment of peace. Just seems impossible. Joe writes, she seems to fall for it's all Hamas's fault nonsense. Yeah, then she's dumb. She's just not a good person. Sorry. Like, it's all Hamas's fault. It's like, it'd be like watching Star Wars and being like, it's the rebellion's fault. Yeah. Dito is responding to this person, Glazy, who's putting in this Wikipedia article. The article cites Conquest's 1968 work, does not include Conquest's own refutation of his own work following the opening of the Soviet archives. Yeah, that's the big change, right? Putin opened the Soviet archives, and a whole bunch of people went into the Soviet archives. And since the opening of the Soviet archives, it's basically destroyed all of this propaganda nonsense. Like, there's no leg left to stand on for a lot of this garbage because uh, because we opened the Soviet archives. It's like, I'm trying to think of like the Holodomor, right? But the whole narrative surrounding the Holodomor has basically been blown apart, and it was blown apart by liberal capitalists who like historians, people from Harvard, people from Oxford, who like go in to the Soviet archive and are like, oh yeah, these guys were really trying to prevent that from happening. They did not want to see that happen. Like, so it's just all of this propaganda nonsense is completely blown apart, and it's frustrating because it's lingering. There's just like, it's to the benefit of the death cult to have you convinced that the USSR was actually a bad thing. It was actually really terrible that the average life expectancy of people went from 35 to 80, right? That was really bad that that happened. Yeah, it's a ghost ideology. Yeah. It just it's just frustrating. It's just frustrating. I just wish that I was living in a society that actually was even trying, like that was actually trying to take itself seriously, that was actually trying to improve itself. Like I would rather live in a place that was trying and failing than live in this place where it's just this constant denialism and this constant belief in the opposite of what is obviously true. Long Defiance says having a society that only caters to people who want security makes for a sad place. Certainly does. Certainly does. And in the meantime, looming in the background, as has always been, Dito says, did you see that a new group of paid DNC influencers dropped? Yeah, I did see that. That it's over on TikTok, right? David Pacman. Yeah, hardly shocking that David Pacman is the largest one. Like, it's just too tempting, right? Like, it's just too tempting to take the money. Like, we're talking about stability. Like, yeah. Like, if somebody opened a suitcase and it had $100,000 in front of me, I'd be tempted by it for sure. It'd be tough. Like, that's a lot of security for someone, right? And just to become like a DNC toady. I don't think I know who Brian Tyler Cohen is, DNC shill, but like there's just so much money swirling around in the system now, right? That like they're just buying the influence. They're just buying people out and saying like, hey, if you want like a stable life or even like a really good life, all you got to do is just say yes, and then we're going to give you some basic talking points, and that'll be it, right? Ah, guys, I'm sad. I'm just sad. Like I want to believe that we're going to pull ourselves out of this, and I want to believe that the pendulum swings, and I want to believe that good things are going to start happening. You know, I want to believe. And when I go out in the world and I play my music, I try to focus on love, and I try to open people's hearts up to the idea of compassion and empathy, and I want to believe that we can create that world. I want to believe that love is there, and that we can have love, and that we can love each other. And it's just gotten hard. It's just gotten really hard. Yeah, Jesus will save us. Yeah. I think I'm going to close this one down, guys. I'm uh, I'm really going through something personally, so I think doing just a short stream today, I think that's fine by me. Yeah, thank you, Oddity. Always remember, guys, each and every one of you is a quantum being walking around in quantum energy. These billionaires are spending hundreds of billions of dollars, if not trillions of dollars, in the hopes you'll never realize it. You'll just stay the good little commodity they need you to be. Revolt, rebel, repent. Good luck. We're going to need it.